It's time for Image in the 90s. And today we're talking about Darker Image issue number 1. So this was a one-shot comic book that came out in 1993, basically after the first year of Image Comics and the giant, massive success in which it was. They decided to launch what you could call a second wave. We would eventually see certain books like Pit. We would see other books, but in particular, this next big wave that was promoted was the MAXX from Sam Kieth. It was DEATHBLOW from Jim Lee, and it was BLOODWULF from Rob Liefeld. So Darker Image was a one-shot comic book that introduced these 3 books that were eventually going to be released. So let's talk about this comic book by Sam Kieth, Jim Lee, and Rob Liefeld. Some highs and some lows. Let's start with the highest of highs. That is 100% the Sam Kieth introduction of the MAXX. I adore Sam Kieth's work. I have never dived all the way into the MAXX, but I love his artwork. I've always been intrigued. I've always seen parts of it, and now I'm making it a mission to hunt down each and every damn issue of this and check it out. I loved that MTV show. Thought it was great. So the artwork is great. The storytelling is great. You got this really brilliant color. Look at the composition on this page. I'm digging it. You basically see the MAXX. There's this giant dude. He's hiding from him, right? This giant dude, the design on that character, absolutely wonky, bonkers, cool, absurd. So he sees the MAXX, and we already see the MAXX as this massive character. Then we see this dude, and then we get a chase. Look at the storytelling ability here. Look at the tight borders on some panels, and then look at how that panel kind of fractures at the bottom there when the hammer smacks. Really great stuff. MAXX looks like he's about to get got by this hammer, and this is an interesting first look. The design immediately gets you, what is going on? This is weird and it's wonky, and then to make crazier matters crazier, he shows up, gets injected or poked by something from this cute chick in a leopard print bikini. And then all of a sudden, we're like in the real world. We're in a big city, and she's injecting him with something, and she says, he keeps bumping into my apartment. He's going to get me kicked out. What's going on? Who is this guy? What's his past? What's his whole story? We're definitely going to be finding out in the MAXX number 1. Coming soon to Image in the 90s. Next up, we got the BLOODWULF story. Heads up, I've never read anything BLOODWULF. So this is my first BLOODWULF comic, and I'm going to tell you this. I liked it. I thought it was pretty solid. This is basically Rob Lowe doing Lobo. He's ripping off Lobo, doing his own thing with it, right? So you got this dude, BLOODWULF. He's on this giant space cycle. He's going to this place that once had 9 moons, a planet that had 9 moons. The Emperor promised each of his 9 sons a moon to rule, and now they've all fought each other, and they've destroyed all the moons but one. And his granddad or somebody, or his grandmom or something, was insulted by 2 of the Emperor's sons, so he's going to, just throw some revenge or whatever. And if you think that Rob doesn't know that we know that this is totally his version of Lobo, there's a Lobo right there. Lobo just walking by, passing BLOODWULF. BLOODWULF's on a mission of revenge. So he shows up. There's some really interesting bits here. First of all, with the artwork, I actually do like it. For Rob Liefeld, it's not some of his best stuff, but I really like the backgrounds. There's a grit. Whoever in Extreme Studios added these little textured little bits here and there in the background inking, I think is exceptional. I wouldn't necessarily credit that to Rob, but I don't know what actually happened here. Look, he seriously just blows this dude's freaking head off. Darker Image were meant to kind of take it up a little bit more hardcore. I don't know if you get much more hardcore than Spawn number 5, but Rob Liefeld drawing a decapitation, that's pretty cool. So BLOODWULF on his mission of revenge. He's got a bunch of dudes come after him, including Cable. The straight up Cable, he just has a Y. He's got a Youngblood patch instead of the X-Force patch. But he's fighting with those dudes, and he eventually makes it to where he needs to go after just mowing down people. It's dynamic, it's kinetic, it's energetic, and it's kind of fun. This is Rob Liefeld having a lot of fun. Rob Liefeld. Did I say Rob Lowe? If I did, then I apologize. But Rob Liefeld, Doing a really solid job here, I think. Just having fun, poking fun at this ridiculous story. Then you find out that this space cycle is also a gun. Now, at this point, Rob Liefeld had totally 100% understood all the criticism that people had on him, including these giant, stupid-looking guns. Well, here's the biggest freaking one I've seen yet, and he blows these dudes away, turns them into skulls, looks at us, and laughs, right? So then he makes it to the dude, and as he's blowing these dudes away, he leaves a bomb there, and as he's leaving the planet, he blows up the whole fucking planet and laughs. So, yeah, 100%. Like Fable said, BLOODWULF was a Lobo parody. 100%. Then we get to DEATHBLOW. DEATHBLOW, to me, was the weakest story in this entire thing. It was rather boring. Now, at this point, it's pretty interesting. Now, artistically, it's interesting because this is, at this point, like we talked about with Shadowhawk number 0, Rob Liefeld was trying to kind of experiment a little bit on this Frank Miller kind of vibe, right? The Sin City was coming out and all this kind of jam. So this is what Jim Lee's doing. This is Jim Lee doing his Jim Lee doing his Frank Miller. I like the use of like a monochromatic kind of tone here. That red really pops. But you get introduced to the idea that there's a soldier there and he's with an informant and they're going into the jungle somewhere. It's really terribly written. Brandon Choi was not a good writer, and that's what the problem with this book is. Artistically, it's cool, but it is so hard to get into because of the writing. But I love the colors. I love the artwork. This is Jim Lee kind of stretching with his style. Like I said, kind of aping a little bit on the whole Frank Miller Sin City kind of vibe. But like, that's a really cool splash page, and that's dope. And then it just loses you because it's just overly verbose, overly expositional, but still confusing. And so basically, DEATHBLOW's there. He's gone rogue because he's got cancer or something. Michael Cray does, right? That's DEATHBLOW. And now Lynch is got to assemble this team led by this dude, this square-ass looking dude who's got to go and stop him. And that's really all you get is this setup, but I really do like the artwork. I think it's pretty solid. Interesting for Jim Lee. I have never read any of the Jim Lee DEATHBLOW stuff. First time I read DEATHBLOW was like Brian Azzarello stuff. So definitely interested in checking it out, but that one was pretty freaking boring. So overall, the book I would give a 4 you digs because I think it introduces 3 interesting concepts, at least visually. I like the BLOODWULF story. I don't really like the DEATHBLOW story, but I like the art. But the MAXX, totally slam bang. You know what I'm saying? Totally slam bang fantastic. Anyway, here's my copy of it. And mine I got the one with the MAXX card because there were 3 different cards you can get in these. But I liked it. I liked going through it. The MAXX stuff is great. The texture that I'm all over the place with the names. The texture that Sam Keith provides with his pen work is stunning and amazing to me. It's the briefest of introductions, but to me, it's so visually striking that it definitely wins the top notch. And obviously, that's the one that actually seemed to go somewhere. Now, this Rob Liefeld story, which is totally his Lobo, I liked. I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, I like this. I like the cheeky nature of it. It's Rob Liefeld kind of poking fun at himself and looking at his critics and kind of winking at them. Then you got this ad right there for DEATHBLOW, or for Bloodshot Youngblood. Young Bloodshot, we should say. Now, like I said, though, the DEATHBLOW stuff, really boring, really bad. And but artistically, I'm really interested in what's going on there. Now, is there an inker credited? No. So it's just Jim Lee doing story and art on that, and Joe Chiodo doing the colors. Steve Olaf colored all the other ones. And, of course, Bill Mesner-Loebs was doing the dialogue on the MAXX story, but Rob Liefeld credited as the sole writer on this ridiculous BLOODWULF story that I liked. And we got an ad on the back there for Jay Lee's Wildcats trilogy. Jay Lee just got announced to be a guest at Heroes Con. Very excited for that. I like the Jim Lee artwork, but that story is just really hard to get through. It makes Wildcats a difficult reread. But altogether, I liked it, and I think that for what it was trying to do, 4 you dig. So what do you think out there about Darker Image #1? And that was tonight's presentation of Image in the 90s.